We're running 50 websites today, and we're posting around 2,000 fire trucks a year.
Wow.
With the same number of personnel that we were doing when we had 100 fire trucks a year and one website. 100% due to Salesforce.
This podcast is brought to you by Fast Slow Motion, a team of expert consultants that have helped hundreds of growing businesses build scalable systems on the HubSpot and Salesforce platforms. To learn more, visit fastslowmotion.com. Welcome to the Fast Slow Motion podcast, where we teach you how to build a business you love while enjoying your life. In today's episode, we're joined by two incredible guests whose businesses have partnered for over 10 years together. And I'm so pleased to introduce Billy Claunch from Brindlee Mountain Fire Apparatus. They're the largest buyer and seller of used fire trucks in the Western Hemisphere. And Billy has spent over 20 years partnering with fire departments, and he's super passionate about serving his customers with excellence. Now, Billy began his career as a financial consultant with Morgan Stanley back in 1999, but then he joined his best friend and founder of Brindlee, James Wessel, at the company in 2003. He now serves as the VP of Sales and Marketing, and he's got a fantastic story to share about how far Brindlee has come from when he started there. And we're also joined by John Burdett, the founder of Fast Slow Motion, a company that has helped nearly 1,000 businesses grow with scalable systems built on the Salesforce and HubSpot CRM platforms. John, Billy, it's awesome to have you here.
Good morning, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us, Sam. Well, Billy, words really can't describe how special you are to me. We go way back. You were one of the first businesses that trusted me and Fast Slow Motion to help you and your partners scale your business. So can't thank you enough for all that you've done for me personally and for Fast Slow Motion. You motivate me to run my business the right way by the way you model and run your business. And so thank you for that, first and foremost. So you've obviously built an amazing business at Brindlee Mountain. It's been an amazing journey along the way. Give us a little bit more background of how you even got into the business. As Sam mentioned, you started off in the financial services industry. I'd love for everybody to kind of understand your original journey and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, be glad to. Thanks, John. And the feeling obviously is mutual. Fast Slow Motion and you are absolutely critical and foundational to Brindlee existing today and being a business that we can operate and doesn't operate us. So that absolutely wouldn't have happened without you. So thank you very much for your contribution. So quick background, I'm living in Auburn, Alabama. I met one of my neighbors, a girl who is now my cousin-in-law. And shortly after meeting her, she said, I'm going to introduce you to a guy I went to high school with. I think y'all will be good friends. So that ended up being James Wessel. So we met when we were 20 or 21 or so. He's a few years older than me. And we met in college. The first thing we did was realize we both really loved business and really loved organizing projects. So we started an investment club for college-aged people. This was back in the 90s when everyone had an investment club. So after college, kind of went our separate ways. As Sam mentioned, was a financial consultant for a few years. And James had a huge passion for firefighting. And he was volunteering with a local fire department, Brindlee Mountain Volunteer Fire Department. During that period, he had an opportunity to serve on the truck purchase committee for this fire department when they were looking to upgrade one of their fire apparatus. It wasn't a very well-funded fire department, so they were certainly looking for a used truck. James was young in the department, probably 24, 25 at the time. So trying to certainly do a good job and earn a good reputation for all the older folks in the department and show them that he could do a good job at this project. So he shopped for a used truck, ended up selecting and purchasing one. This would have been probably 2000. When the truck arrived, it ran, which was positive and looked good. Well, about a week later, he was actually driving it to a house fire and the engine blew up in the truck. So he pulled it over to the side of the road and watched other people drive by, sadly, to this house fire as the truck he just purchased was not operating, and called the dealer he bought it from, which came with a warranty. And the dealer said, no problem, we'll get you paid. Just let us know what the repair cost is. As James began to walk through that, it became obvious the dealer really wasn't going to pay for the repair. Kind of began one excuse after another, I sent the check, it didn't show up. Okay, let me send another one. Oh man, yeah, it got returned. What was your address again? And just a series of more and more kind of obscene and odd excuses, yeah, man, I'll level with you. I'm getting divorced. I don't have the money, but I'll make it right. I'll get it to you. Well, this stretched for like a year while the truck is sitting unrepaired. And finally, an attorney in the coverage area got wind of the story and was just kind of like, let me pick this up and take care of it, guys. So he was able to make contact with the dealer, who then immediately sent a check. So James left the experience, not sure what to do. Well, then the attorney calls him back a couple weeks later and says, James, I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or worse, but just so you know, there's outstanding litigation against this dealer in like 15 states for basically the same behavior. And James was like, dadgum. Volunteer firefighters are generally a pretty wholesome and salt of the earth crew. And that's kind of a rough crowd to be taking advantage of. And James was kind of like, I can't believe that's going on. So a lot more details, but to cut to the chase, James felt led to get into the used fire truck business. So he called his mom and she was supportive of the idea. He called me and I was like, man, that sounds awesome. And so he bought a used fire truck. So in the year 2001, he bought and sold 4 fire trucks, just kind of out of his mom's driveway, which that involves some interesting stories as well. They lived in a gated golf course community, so he was able to add a few regulations to the golf course's rules to not allow fire trucks and equipment to be stored in that golf course anymore. But 2002, he bought and sold 30 trucks. So he was hustling. In 2003, I came out that year and we bought and sold 90 trucks that year and kind of kept growing from there.
Wow, that's awesome. I tell people all the time, one of the many reasons I'm passionate about smaller growth businesses is the impact that you guys get to make in the markets that you serve. There are probably a lot of people listening to this podcast don't even realize there's a market for reselling used fire trucks. But when you start thinking about it, it makes a ton of sense. And like you said, these are salt of the earth people sacrificing their lives every single day to keep us safe. You guys are serving them so well. So thank you for what you do, number one. And it's just marvel at your success. So let's fast forward to 2014. That's when you and I met each other. I believe it was around October of that year. What was the inflection point or what was the realization on your side? You guys had bought Salesforce. We actually got introduced from Salesforce to you. What got you to that point and how did you realize, I need something that's more powerful than the systems and processes I have today?
Yeah, good question, John. Thank you. From 2003, when I came on board full time until 2014, I consider that our season of hustling. We run basically a used car lot. So we were buying and selling used vehicles. As we did that, we grew some. I think in 2003, we had about 20 employees. By 2014, we probably had about 40. So we had grown some from an employment standpoint. We'd grown more from a volume standpoint. James and I both have a pretty high appetite for data. We like to track things. We feel comfortable when we can see data and make decisions as opposed to making it in a vacuum, although it's always a combination of data and gut. In that vein, I had come from the consulting world. James had come from the fast food franchise world. His family owned a fast food franchise here in North Alabama. Both of those fairly mature businesses where we were used to working with systems that delivered to us information when we needed it to make a decision. And we realized at the fire truck company, we didn't have that, or if we did, we were going to have to build it, which was a little daunting. So what that looked like for the first roughly decade was Excel, like everybody else, right? Excel is the tool of our generation. It's so useful and usable in so many instances that you can start any project in it. but it reaches a point where it breaks down in effectiveness. So that point for us was in would have been about 2013, John, before we met. I was kind of hating life, honestly, trying to run the fire truck company because we had grown to have 4 different software platforms. I had a website running, an old C++ website. I was using Act at the time for CRM, which was software installed on servers at Brindlee. We used actually an old HVAC software that I don't even know how we came upon this, but somebody knew how to use it. So we used HVAC software to schedule all our work in the shop. And then we were QuickBooks for financials. But that gave us no management data insight into the company. So I think, literally had about 300 Excel sheets that we tried to keep maintained on top of that. I told James, man, this is fun, but dude, this is awful. Like, I don't like doing this. This is too much. Like, we're trying to track all this stuff. It's not right. I spend 3/4 of my time just running around tracking data, not even working on the fire trucks anymore or talking to customers. So I ran what I called a duplicative data report. Pretty simple, but I just started auditing all 40 employees, what they did all day, where they stored information and tracked information to try to figure out what we were doing in the first place. The results of that report were we were duplicating information sometimes in up to 20 different places. So James and I realized, okay, so we're trying to run a business. We're hustling to buy and sell stuff, but we're paying people to literally type information in 20 different locations. So right off the bat, we're like, okay, well, we're spending a bunch of money already on systems. We just don't know it. And we don't know what they're doing. And we can't see it. And then if there's a mistake, I guess somebody's going to change it in all 20 locations. Well, that's not really happening. So we were introduced to the world of systems, which we knew about, but we just felt like we're too small of a business to be able to really participate in. Salesforce was introduced to us by some friends of ours who owned a biotech company here in town. They had successfully built a fully integrated ERP on the Salesforce platform. So Jason, our CFO, started spending some good time with this company and just seeing how they ran their business. And it kind of opened up our eyes a lot. We were like, man, this is just a different world. We got to pursue this. Then at the same time, Brindlee Mountain, it wasn't exactly on the forefront of fiber internet capability, but in 2013, they did actually start offering fiber at Brindlee. So that opened up the opportunities for us. So we started researching the different platforms. We looked at Salesforce. We looked at Microsoft Business Dynamics, I think was the name of it at the time. We looked at Oracle. And then we looked at Sage, who owned Act. And they had, all these companies had an ERP solution at the time. We decided in 2014, okay, this is going to be the year we're going to do something. So we started looking at how to investigate, and we saw Dreamforce, which said they had like 150,000 people attending that year. The next biggest show was Microsoft's, which was 15,000. It was pretty telling to me as far as the vibrancy of the ecosystem that Salesforce had the universe of people that were excited to be users and wanted to share information about how to grow a business. Microsoft just seemed kind of stoic and old and still kind of server based. We had a local IT consultant at the time who was recommending like these different computers and servers. And I was so sick of talking to people about servers, I couldn't even see straight. So when I saw Salesforce's logo and at Dreamforce saw the guy running around in the no software costume, I was just like, yeah, that's what I need is no software. This is not my business. Other people do this business. There's a lot of people that do things we partner with. We want to specialize where we know our business, and that is in the fire truck world that's serving fire departments, and it's not in managing IT infrastructure, right? So that was a big thing for us, was getting out of the IT infrastructure. And then secondly, a big thing for us, taking all this data that existed in the 4 software platforms and 300 spreadsheets, reducing as much as humanly possible any duplicate data. that brought us to where Salesforce introduced us to John. It was barely even Fast Slow Motion at the time. I think I remember you telling me I was your second client. I mean, I think you still had, Ticket Biscuit going as a client, but I think we were like legit number 2. But dude, you just showed up. You drove up to Union Grove, Alabama. You met with us, and hearing you talk was just like honey dripping off the leaves of a, promised land. I was just like, dude, you have to do this for me, please.
Billy, that story's amazing. I think a lot of us as business leaders and business owners can relate to almost everything you talk about. Thank you again for trusting us to help you. And the only reason I was able to even add a little bit of value at the time is because I'd been on that journey doing it for my own businesses. And I think, so much around building and scaling a business. It's, I tell people it's like the most amazing, awesome experience you'll ever have, but also one of the most challenging, because you can get to that place where you're miserable and you're kind of trapped in your business. And that's so much behind our mission at Fast Slow Motion, is to help people enjoy the journey and work on their business instead of in the business, and be able to handle all those different things. One thing people probably don't realize is the complexity of your business. Even back then, like 10 years ago, and y'all were servicing fire trucks, you were buying fire trucks and reselling them, you were brokering fire trucks. Just think about the sales processes. You were out there trying to find fire trucks and buy them, and then vet them and understand what maintenance you're going to have to do to them. And then you're trying to, once you get those in a working condition so that things don't happen to your clients like it did to James, and make that valuable, then you're going to resell it and do things like that. So it's a very complex business. You've done a lot up until 2014, but what you've done over the last 10 years is even more impressive. Give some people some idea of the scale of what you're doing today and how you're doing that. And then maybe some of the lessons you've learned along the way that, hey, if you could replay the tape, maybe you would do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, good question, John. Thanks for that. I would say one thing Salesforce did for me personally is give me a platform to work on the business with levered time, right? So any business owner, any founder, generally, they're really going to like the content of what they're doing. A plumber kind of likes plumbing, and like they have a natural inclination to it. We like the fire industry. Those are our people. We're part of it. So we like it. But it's so hard to have a means to engage and work within that you can grow with. So like I used to tell my kids, Salesforce is my video game. So you built, John, and Fast Slow Motion, a video game for me that I can play in the fire industry in Salesforce and just try to win, right? So how that plays out was initially you were able to aggregate all that information. We did successfully kill probably 95% of those spreadsheets. You never get rid of all of them, right?
Yeah.
We did kill all 4 of the software platforms, went single point ERP, so that everything we operate from the website, if you get on firetruckmall.com today, and you send an inquiry, that's a Visual Force page. It comes into Salesforce, and it is 100% Salesforce process from that point through you buying or selling us a truck, working on the truck, getting the title, moving the truck with logistics anywhere in the world, all the way through the financials production is 100% out of Salesforce. Not that that's a small feat, but that was kind of treading water. I mean, that was I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, Mark, Benioff, like that's what you told me it would do at the first Dreamforce. So I'm kind of expecting that. That's like minimum, right? Having the ability to see the data, play the video game, so to speak, opened up new avenues in our business that's led to affiliate marketing opportunities within the industry, where we now run about 50 different websites where we offer kind of a broker dealer in a box platform that other brokers in the used fire truck industry, other dealers in the used fire truck industry, and the new fire truck industry can leverage our platform, stand up a used fire truck storefront, have that as a profit center in their business, but we run 100% of the back end on and automate reporting to them, everything. The power of that just can't be stated. Like, it ensconced us in the industry as the go-to provider for used fire trucks. It gave us a way to scale and lever our time in a massive way with the same number of people. We're running 50 websites today and we're posting around 2,000 fire trucks a year.
Wow.
With the same number of personnel that we were doing when we had 100 fire trucks a year and one website. 100% due to Salesforce.
That's incredible.
It's also given us the ability to explore other options in the industry when it comes to financing, when it comes to operating leases with fire trucks, when it comes to actually managing fire departments themselves, managing the fire department's fleets over time. So it's opened up a number of avenues that we did not have in our plan before having the data and being able to use it. And we're actually, I don't even know if you know this, John, we've had a little beta of Einstein running for like 4 months now to try to create an automated quote for your fire truck. Just simply using the data that we've been saving now for the past decade in the system. And it's not ready for prime time yet, but I'm shocked at how well it works, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So this has given us just a platform to open up into other business lines that we never even contemplated before. So I'll close by saying this. In my first presentation to James that I made about why we should do Salesforce, it was very much a zero-sum thing. I took the duplicative data report and I said, okay, we're paying people X dollars per hour. We're duplicating data here, 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 here. So we're already spending like 80% of the cost of Salesforce anyway. It's just lost in inefficient labor, right? So that was kind of an easy sale where James was like, oh, yeah. Totally. Let's give it a shot, right? Yeah. Let's try it. We felt like we had huge ROI on that. Yeah. But from this point forward, every year, like every business, we're looking at expenses. And although we love Salesforce and we love John Burdett and we love Fast Slow Motion, we have spent a lot of money with you also for that love. So we're cognizant of that and we appreciate that. I mean, you're our largest expense outside of labor, but I'm constantly beating the drum that, yes, it is a large expense, but it's not an expense. It's an investment. Mm-hmm. It's 100% an investment, right? And we are getting a return on that investment. We have another choice. We could stop. We could go back to running it with spreadsheets and software, but it would cost us many times more than that line item spend for Salesforce and related apps, and then Fast Slow Motion consulting retainer. We would waste so much more money than that in inefficiency if we tried to do it another way. It's an investment. And if you're running a business, I honestly don't see how you do it without it.
It's been so great to hear the story of Brindlee so far. I'm excited to hear more in part 2 of our discussion. For our listeners, be sure to tune into our next episode for the rest of the conversation to hear how Brindlee has continued to grow and scale to become the largest buyer and seller of used fire trucks in the Western Hemisphere. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, or you can find archived episodes at fastslowmotion.com/podcast.